You're a member of both the Actors Union and the Writers Union. How have the concurrent strikes impacted negotiations?
Well, I mean, I'm hopeful that now that the actors are on strike as well, things will come to an end sooner because literally everything is shut down now and stopped. But I don't know, like the things that are coming out in the media from the producer side of things and the studio side of things, they're relentless and they seem to not care that people are struggling, that people they literally said they want people to lose their houses, and it's crazy to me. But I do think it's promising that both the writers and actors are on strike together.
The summarized sticking points of the negotiations for both unions is the use of AI and compensation. But what specifically along those lines are the unions asking for that the studios haven't agreed to yet?
Well, a big thing is residuals. The streamers love to say that they're not profitable or they're not making these high profits that we think they are, yet these CEOs are making millions and millions of dollars a year as their salary, and writers are struggling to, just live and have a normal life. And the same thing with actors. So we get a lot of residuals. I mean, I think more and more people are posting their residuals online. And I think before we used to post it almost like a joke, like, ha ha ha, look at this check for 5 cents or 3 cents. Like the checks are less than the stamp it costs to mail them out. And it doesn't make sense. Before, when you were on a network show or a broadcast show, well, first of all, you usually had 22 episodes. Now the new thing is that they love to shorten seasons to 10 episodes. Like our show, Grand Crew, we only got 10 episodes per season, where that used to not happen. You used to get, 13 episodes and then a back 9. So you'd have 22 episodes of television in any season. So right there's a cut, right? For not only the actors, but the writers, for the production, for everyone behind the scenes. It's interesting because obviously the actors and writers are affected, but like everyone is affected. It's a trickle down effect because now caterers, now prop houses, now anyone that has to do with the film and television industry is hurting, and people are they're losing their jobs, they're getting laid off. And so it's just, I don't know. I keep trying to be hopeful. I keep thinking like it's gonna turn around. But yeah, I think the number one thing is residuals. AI is a very scary thing. Losing for the writers, it's them wanting to use AI to write scripts and then making writers kind of update the scripts. But why are they not just letting the writers write the scripts to begin with? For actors, it's the usage of your likeness. So like if I shoot a movie and I sign away the rights to my likeness and there are reshoots, they can just use AI to do those reshoots. They don't have to hire me again, which is also crazy and scary, because at certain points, then can they just use AI for everything? Will we ever be hired for anything? And so I think those are the two biggest points. But there's healthcare. Like most actors in the union don't qualify for healthcare, and to qualify for healthcare, you only need, I think it's around $25,000 to qualify. Over 80% of SAG members do not meet that requirement. So
25,000 annually?
yes, a year, yes. And so the
What they
idea,
worked.
so the idea that actors are like spoiled and rich and all these things is crazy. Like most people are just working actors or trying to be working actors. And honestly, even when you get on a series, like I was very fortunate to do 2 seasons of Grand Crew, but I think sometimes people forget, like I mentioned, we did 10 episodes. So you shoot three months out of the year. You're paying taxes on that. You're paying commission on that. And then you might not work for the other 9 months of the year. So it's like, I don't think people realize that even the people who are working then have to stretch out that money for a long period of time. And so the fact that that residuals keep getting cut down, that so many people can't qualify for healthcare, these are all like really important issues.
And healthcare is one of the things that the union is trying to negotiate for, correct?
Yeah, don't quote me on this because I don't know the specifics to when it comes to healthcare. I just know like the idea is that because we're making less money, because residuals are less, because seasons are being shortened, it's harder and harder for people to qualify for healthcare. It's harder and harder for people to make even $25,000 a year to qualify for healthcare. So I think that's kind of the bigger issue.
And residuals, just to break it down into plain English, is after production is done and the contract has been paid out, everything you would get from like streaming or additional whatever, right?
Yeah, before streaming in the more traditional sense, it would be like if you were on a TV show and it repeated, that episode repeated, you would get paid.
Re-airs.
Yeah, when it re-airs, or if, shows get syndicated, like the cast of Friends are still making millions of dollars a year because Friends is on all the time on all of these different channels, but these are all broadcast channels. I don't know how much they make off of Netflix, for instance, but most shows now don't repeat. They're because there's like that streaming model now. So instead of repeating on broadcast, they'll just take the whole series and put it onto a Netflix or a Hulu.
Right.
And so now we're not getting, that residual per episode airing.
Mm, mm. The Hollywood actors launched a strike July 13th. Writers did theirs starting on May 2nd, with very similar demands that both of the unions say are reasonable. Why do you think the studios haven't agreed to those terms yet?
I mean, I don't know. Like I think it's not even so much that they're not agreeing to the terms. They're not even coming back to the table with offers. Like they're just kind of at a standstill. And it just feels super disrespectful to be like, hey, we're just gonna wait this out until you guys are all poor, until you guys can't survive. And, you know, no matter what they say, they clearly are profitable. And if you're able to pay these CEOs hundreds of millions of dollars, why can't you pay an actor or a writer a little bit more so that they can just survive day to day? One of the statistics I read on social media was like, I think it was Bob Eager had said something, and you know, the average writer makes about 60 grand a year. And with his current salary, he makes about 70 grand a day. So it's like, I don't understand how you can say there's no money there when one person is making this much money.
Mm,
So that's the frustration. I think that's why people are angry. And we all need each other. Like this does not exist without writers. This does not exist without actors. This does not exist with anyone who works on our crew on any TV show or film. IATSE directors, PAs, hair, makeup, like we all need each other. And so I don't really know the end game here. I don't see how they think they can exist without us. And it's funny because I think the joke or the things that go around social media is like writers and actors are like, go ahead, like we're used to being poor. we can do this all day. Like this is like that is the life of an artist. Like we know how to struggle. Like how are you guys going to do when you no longer have TV programming for your networks and your streamers? What are you going to do when there are no summer blockbusters next year?
mm,
I don't know. And it's tough. And like everyone I know who's an actor and writer that, people are starting to hurt already and they need to find part-time jobs, and people are finding part-time jobs, and people are taking any little thing they can do. And
yeah.
creatively, people are trying, because as actors, we can still do like student films, short films, like anything that's indie and not related to a studio or a streamer. So like, or theater. So I think we're kind of, I don't know, at least I know me and my circle of friends are trying to put our energy into that while we wait to see what happens.
Mm. And I guess I'm wondering how how have the strikes at all advanced the negotiations in the way that the unions hoped?
How have the strikes advanced the negotiations? I don't think they have thus far. I mean, I know they haven't spoken to the writers again. I know they haven't negotiated with the writers again. And I know with SAG, the reason we went on strike is because they couldn't come to terms with anything.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming now, like the WGA, SAG is just at a standstill until they come back with something better for us. So,
Mm,
the hope is the strikes will eventually get them to come back to the table. But right now, we're just striking and waiting.
yeah. In college, I took a class on protest, and I learned that the strike or the protest is always the last option, that there were so many different means used leading up to that, and then the strike was the last straw. What were some of those additional means that the unions used before this is the straw that broke the camel's back?
Well, look, I'm not on a negotiating committee. I don't know what was happening behind closed doors. All I know is that we have negotiating committees who have been trying to negotiate with the people, the producers and the streamers and the studios.
Yeah.
And, we had things that we asked for, and most or all of those things either were not met, or what they came back with was like insulting. And so I don't know beyond that. I just
I
know
hear
that,
you.
like, that was what we're told as members. That's the information we get in our emails that we get sent out.
I hear
So,
you.
and as members of the union, you just have to like believe and trust in these people who are negotiating in our favor, and strike and do everything we're supposed to do, follow the rules, and don't work, and get out there and picket, and just kind of wait and see what happens.
So let's fast forward to when a deal is struck eventually. I know you don't have a timetable, but let's fast forward to that time. What does a deal look like to you? What does it include?
Um, I mean, personally, on the writer's side, I would love, a better residual model. I would love for them to get rid of these mini rooms that they've been doing, which is, in short, like a way of saying like, okay, traditionally a writer's room lasts for, depending on the project, like 3 months to 9 months, just depending on how long it is.
Yeah.
And there's usually anywhere between, I don't know, 8 and 12 writers in a writer's room. And so now what some streamers are asking, just to get a show like greenlit, is like, hey, you need to write us all 6 episodes or all 10 episodes of the season, and we're going to give you 3 writers, and the 4 of you are going to go in a room. You're going to get paid less, and you're going to work harder, and you're going to get, and you're going to work for a shorter period of time, and you're going to do all this work, and your show might not even get picked up.
Mm.
There you go. Versus before, you wrote a pilot, and then that pilot got greenlit, and then you shot the pilot. The script got greenlit, then you shot it, and then if the pilot got greenlit, then you get a full writer's room, and then you shoot a full season, and that all airs. So it's just like things like that are kind of frustrating. And then the AI thing like has got to go. Like, that's just crazy to me. And then on the actor side, it's really all the same things. It's residuals. It's no AI. I feel like those are the 2 big ones for actors: the residuals and the no AI of it all.
So there are people at home who want new episodes of their shows, want to see their new movie coming out as scheduled. What do you say to those fans right now?
I don't know. I literally was talking to a friend today about it, because I think there's murmurs of like canceling your subscriptions, but then I read something where they were like, no, don't cancel your subscriptions, because they'll use that to their advantage, saying, you see, like our subscription model is unpredictable, and we're losing customers, and then they can use that to say they're not making the money that we say they are. And so I don't know what the answer is as far as for the average consumer. I think, if you can get out there and picket and help us like support us in solidarity, that would be great. If you're in New York or LA, is really where all the picketing's happening. Posting about it, posting on social media that you're in solidarity. But beyond that, I don't know what the right answer is as far as like the average person, who's not in the entertainment business, who just wants their shows back. I know it'd be really cool if fans of TV shows all of a sudden started like, I don't know, picking and posting on social media and like demanding that we get back to work. That could be a cool thing that might happen one day. But sadly, I think what is more likely to happen is that, I think the last time when the WGA was on strike in 2008, I believe it was, is kind of what birthed reality television. It's like why reality television became so popular.
I remember, yeah.
I think the studios will find a way to make money, and if that means reality television, more reality television, then that might be what we do right now. So I don't know. Don't watch reality.
Say what a stark contrast, And so you mentioned at the top that you were hopeful, and I wonder, what is the sentiment among yourself and the other members who see the very different ways that this could go, but remain on the picket line?
I mean, I just say I'm hopeful because I think in general, I try to be an optimistic person.
Same.
I do think it's going to go on a bit. Like, I don't think it's going to end. I think if we're lucky, it'll end by like October, but I think more likely it's not going to end until the new year. And I
Okay.
hate to say that, but I just feel like from what I'm hearing, it just seems like, they're being really stubborn and they don't care about us. And so until that shifts, until they start hurting, I don't see them making a change anytime soon. I also feel like, the writers' strike is now like on day 70 something, 74 or
Yeah.
something. It's like, what are we waiting for? And the actor strike just started, but honestly, we've been affected by the writer strike since May. Like things started
Right.
to slow down as soon as the writer strike happened, for actors. And
It's funny, I interviewed Shirley Ralph, I think the day after the writer's strike happened, and she was talking about how it impacted production for Abbott Elementary. And I said, well, how
yeah,
long do you think this is going to last? And she goes, it's going to, what did she say? It was so clever. It's going to be as short, it's going to be short for as long as it takes. So she's
yeah.
basically saying, whatever happens, it's going to be as long as it takes.
And
Queen.
I think that's kind of it. Like, at least right now, that feels very much like the sentiment among actors and writers. It's like, we're doing this. Like, we're not backing down. Like, this hasn't happened in, I think it's since 1960 something, where both the
Yeah.
actors and the writers have been on strike together. And it's like, there's a reason people are upset. Like, we're not making this stuff up. There's a reason why people are upset. And, no one's trying. I think sometimes when people think of Hollywood, they just think of like the rich and famous and the celebrities who are making like ridiculous amounts of money. But
The
like,
A-listers.
yeah, that's a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the people who work in this business. That's like 0.001%. Like, that is just the smallest percentage of people. Most actors, most writers are just like working actors, working writers who are just trying to make a living, like a normal
Right.
average middle class to low, even some lower class. Like, we just want to make a living. And I think people don't realize that. And I think people, think if you get on a show, suddenly you're rich. I'm like, no, that also takes like, not, it all takes time. It's all like winning the lottery. And so like, it's really, for the average person in either of these unions, it's really hard. And we're not rich. Like, I'm not rich. I'm like, like I just, Grand Crew is my first TV show. I've been doing this for
Woo.
13 years. Thank you. But it's just like that, like I was very poor for a very long time, and now I'm just doing okay. And honestly, the longer this strike goes on, I will be poor again. So it's just like, we are all just trying to work and like do what we love to do, and like create and make things that make people happy and make people laugh and make people cry. And like, we
Yeah,
just want to do this. And it's not lost on me how lucky I am to do what I love, as a
for
career.
sure.
But I'm also like, but it's still a job and it's still hard and it's still like a lot of work. Oh, another thing actors are fighting for, speaking
Yeah.
of how this, is the whole self-taping thing that's come into play since the pandemic. The amount of energy we now have to put into putting ourselves on tape for auditions is insane. Like, before,
So
you
what
would,
is the deal with that? Because that seems a new phenomenon, right?
yeah. And I go back and forth on it, because initially I hated self-taping and now I've grown to like it. But the disadvantage is, now for every role that is out there, it's like no longer just up. There's no longer only like 30 people in LA going out for it, or 30 people in LA and 30 people in New York going out for it. Now
Yep.
it's like the whole world. Anyone in the world can go out for it. And
Right.
these directors, they are taking advantage of that, I think, and are seeing a lot more people. Um,
Mm.
Again, good or bad. My issue with it more is like, look, we can't self-tape by ourselves. So it's like, you're not only asking for our time, you're asking for us to now ask someone else who's not
Right.
an actor, or maybe, like, or who's not benefiting from us booking this job at all, to now help us put ourselves on tape for this thing. And it's just like, that to me can get really frustrating. And like, I'm lucky I have a good circle of like actor friends, and we all kind of help each other, but not everyone has that. Not everyone has a husband or a boyfriend who can help them. Not everyone
Right.
has a partner who can help them. Like, I mean, I don't have that. So it's just like, it becomes really hard and challenging. And, you know, and it's not like they're like, here, put this like three pages on tape. It's like, here, put these 12 pages on tape by tomorrow.
Wow. You have to scramble
Okay.
to find the scene partners, someone to record. Yeah, that.
It's a whole, everyone has to have a setup in their house now. Like, and so it's like, well, there needs to be limits on that. Like there needs to be like, you're only allowed to ask for 5 pages or 4 pages or whatever. And you need to have at least a 48-hour turnaround. Like whatever, if we're going to continue to do this self-taping thing, I think there needs to be parameters. Because I don't think that's fair to the act for actors as well.
I hear you.
But yeah.
Speaking of Grand Crew, I feel like I should end on a lighter note because we had such a heavy conversation. Thank you for your transparency. I realized you know me from a can of paint. So to hear you say what you said, I'm like, okay, well, thank you.
And also, like, please fact check me because you know, like, there's so much information going around, and like, I'm just trying to like stay informed, but out. You know, a friend of mine who's not in this business, who's like an entrepreneur, and she's and like coaches people with work and stuff. She was like, look, do the picketing you're obligated to do, and as much as you want to do it. She's like, but also don't obsess about the strike because it can really start messing with your head and your day. Like you start to spiral a little bit when you start really thinking about like, what if this goes on for months and months and months? Like, what are we gonna do? And, you know, and so I'm trying to like stay focused. I'm trying not to like constantly be scrolling, constantly be on Instagram or Twitter or Threads and figuring out like I'm just like stay informed and then get off and pick it when you can pick it and just kind of wait to see.
I'm the queen of self-care, so you are handling it all very well, taking it in stride. And I agree. If it's microdosing or actually sitting and intaking it all, or maybe a strategy between the both of those, I think that's the best way to stay informed. So you definitely are on top of that. I do have a Grand Crew question. I wrote for that show, and I'm sad there will not be a season 3. But I have to ask you, Gracie.
Yes.
You already know what the question is.
I don't know. I'm like, do I?
Do Faye and Anthony end up together?
Oh, well, now we'll never know. We will never know.
No, that is unacceptable answer.
We will never ever know. So that's sad. But I think they were going to at some point. I think we were gonna Ross and Rachel a little bit. You know, Ross and Rachel. Like I think there was gonna be some back and forth, but the world will never know. Funny enough, Aaron and I did a web series, an episode of a web series together. And web series is doing like a screening. And within the screening, they're having all the actors who were in the different episodes do also additional scenes live, like a theater. So it's like an immersive like film and theater thing on August 5th. So it's funny because we play a couple in it, and it's like so different from a half-hour network comedy. It's like very dramatic and very serious. And I was like, it's like, I go, Aaron, it's like we did our own version of like the Fresh Prince to Bel-Air, you know, we did like Grand Crew to True Story. But yeah, so I'll get to work with Aaron again. And I got to work with him again, which was fun. Like our whole crew, like we are so tight and we hang out and talk to each other all the time. We're on a text chain together. And so I'm just so grateful for that experience and that I have all of them in my life now and forever. So
man, there were several scenes in Grand Crew that actually made me laugh out loud. And I'm hard to get an audible laugh out of TV. So that is a tall statement, I'll just say. Y'all did that.
I love it.